So this video is just going to cover a few things when it comes to terminology. Ultimately, the terminology that's used is really not important. The meaning and these bits and pieces that are more conceptual just really won't do us a lot of good. Although sometimes we can utilize these experiences or these terms to essentially implement a tool. And one of those comes down to the word acceptance or allowance and the experience therein. When it comes to acceptance, when it comes to allowance, we are speaking to something that is right here in direct experience, not something that is necessarily out there in experience. So this particular video is just going to cover what seems to be the difference between acknowledging an experience, acknowledging something, and accepting it. There is something about embracing everything as it is that is an absolutely crucial aspect of this path, and it seems like some people are a little confused when they are able to acknowledge that something exists, and still there's a barrier of acceptance. So maybe this particular chat or conversation starter will be able to illuminate some of these things. But simply put, acknowledgement is something that we have over there. Acknowledgement is something that we keep at bay, so it's pointed to, it's separated from. To acknowledge an experience is definitely one thing, but to accept it is an entirely different experience. Accepting is here, it's to embrace. So a really simple way to look at that is we can acknowledge this sensation over here, we can acknowledge that person's needs, we can acknowledge all these things, but ultimately what we're saying is, yes, it's over there. There seems to be a boundary or a space between. Yet when we accept something, we bring it in, we embrace it, and it's here. So I know that these terms are just words and all words are made up, yet that might actually be a decent starter for some of us because that particular difference seems to be creating such a large chasm in understanding of acceptance. I guess we could put it this way. Ask yourself, am I acknowledging or am I accepting? And what you will start to see is that a lot of these experiences that we will just naturally regard as acceptance are actually simply being acknowledged. They're being experienced over there. They're being experienced away from. So see if you can give yourself the benefit of the doubt and start entertaining what acceptance truly is. What is it to embrace something, to embrace an experience, and not just embrace it, but really, 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 truly embrace it. Accept it as is. And what you'll notice is that there's a sense of resistance that comes along with acknowledgement in general. For instance, when we tolerate a sensation or we tolerate behavior or we tolerate something, what we're essentially saying is, I will deal with this for now, while hinging on the hope that there is relief from this or something will be better. That right there is acknowledgement. Acceptance is essentially falling into the experience so completely that we don't have any regard for if it will ever change. In other words, it can remain this way forever, and there's no regard for it changing or becoming something else. When we start to dive deeper into this very seemingly personal experience when it comes to these sensations, oftentimes we start to encounter certain sensations that feel extremely intense. We could even say painful for some. And what will happen is we'll enter into a state of tolerance. We'll acknowledge that experience, but we'll still have a very menial sense of resistance in holding it at bay. What would it be to step so completely into that particular experience that it doesn't need to change, doesn't ever need to become something else? That is what full immersion truly looks like. Not with this behind the scenes sense that it will become something more relieved, relaxed, more peaceful, or more easy in some way. This is truly accepting things exactly as they are. And the primary place that that occurs in this seemingly internal universe is right here. We feel it all the time. And so as you head closer to the core of what this seems to be, See if you can pay attention to the subtlety, the subtle difference between acknowledging something and accepting it and embracing it all the way. And as always, feel free to leave questions and comments below, and we will get to those. Thanks.